Super chat coming in here from Springtime. Springtime, I want to mention we did post your comment, your super chat in the previous show. Springtime joined our Iowa show, so I want to acknowledge that. Thank you so much for that, Springtime. And as another super chat here, full disclosure, Hawkeye fan here, but I have a question. You're allowed, Springtime. You're allowed. You're welcome here. All fans. Maybe not the week of the game. No, all the time you're welcome. Okay, so I saw an analyst predict 10 wins for Nebraska. In all honesty, is this legit in your opinion?
No.
Could it happen?
I saw some of those too. I mean, it could happen, right? Right. And we've touched on this before. Yeah, I mean, if you look at the schedule, obviously that could happen, but realistically, that's a big time turnaround. I mean, right now we're thinking, if you want Scott Frost to keep coaching here, 7-5 is kind of what we're looking at, and that's a pretty big jump. 4-game on the plus side from the previous season. That's a lot to ask, especially in a league like the Big Ten. So, it's great that people have faith in Nebraska, but truthfully, none of us know what's the product's going to look like on the field. When they play Northwestern in Dublin in week 0. So, I don't know. People have different opinions, but realistically, 7-5 is great. 8-4 looks really good. So, yeah, I think a lot of those other are kind of pipe dreams, unless Nebraska comes out on fire and is undefeated, beats Oklahoma, and we'll see from there. But
there's a lot of positives working here. New quarterback in Casey Thompson, who's proven himself, played an entire Big 12 season, led the conference in touchdown passes. Trey Palmer is obviously a huge addition from LSU. If you look across, I certainly agree with and came to this determination myself before I saw the transfer portal rankings that Nebraska's had the best transfer portal offseason of any team in the Big Ten. And you put that together with how well they performed against a difficult schedule last year. So replace Ohio State and Michigan State with, I think, Indiana and Rutgers. Yeah. They still have Michigan, but they've replaced Ohio State and Michigan State with Indiana and Rutgers on the schedule. So I think 10 wins, yeah, that's to Greg's point, just a monumental leap that you could go through the history of college football. You're not going to find many of those. You know which one comes to mind? Auburn.
Last time they played Indiana smoked them here in Memorial Stadium.
Auburn went from 3-9 to the BCS championship game against Florida State one season. But, that's like once every 20 years, there's that kind of turnaround. So to Greg's point, I think 7-5 is a realistic and achievable goal for a team that played really well against 4 top 10 teams. But you have to start making the plays in the clutch. They've got a quarterback.
They have to learn how to win. I mean, they have not learned how to win yet under Scott Frost since he's been here. Until they can do that and believe every single day that they're going to win the game, like in many years past here, when so many teams would come out of the tunnel walk knowing that they were going to crush the opponent on the other side of the field. That just hasn't been here for a very, very long time. So, don't tell me 10-2 until I can see that kind of an attitude and that kind of fire and passion that I just haven't seen.
So it's a great point because it sounds like a throwaway comment. You got to learn how to win the games, but that's exactly right. Football teams go through situations and they either learn and they progress, and it's a combination of executing in difficult situations, it's poise, it's knowing the right, it's having confidence, it's all those things. So until you do it, it's kind of hard to have confidence doing it, but you've got to kind of will yourself through to do it the one time against a good team and then be like, okay, we can do this. We've shown that we did it. We did it against them or did it against them. And then it just grows and grows and grows. Plus the execution, it all's tied together. The nuts and bolts of the actual execution, the confidence, the poise, all the things working together. And you got to think, and I'm going to say it again, who knows what's going to happen against Northwestern, but they're a substantial favorite. Let's say they win that game in the fashion that we expect, not 56-7 like last year, but they win it fairly comfortably. Then they've got North Dakota and Georgia Southern. Now that Oklahoma game may turn out to be the first one that it's like, okay, let's see when it's a 4-point game in the fourth quarter, what happens here. And let's say they don't do it then. But, there's going to be Indiana Rutgers. They should win fairly, but Purdue and Illinois and Minnesota, there's going to be plenty of opportunities for them to, okay, when are they finally going to push the door down and show? And then teams sometimes take off after that because they did it once and they proved it to themselves and they had never done it before. And this team hasn't beaten a good team in a fourth quarter game.
Well, and there's not a single player that was alive that remembers when Nebraska was dominating the Big 8 and the Big 12. I mean, they would never lose to any of the teams below them. And when they once would, it would be a fluke. Every now and then they'd lose to Iowa State or something, trip it up. But yeah, these kids don't know the tradition and what all that was about. They can be taught that, they can be told that, they can watch videos on that, but not to live through it. They don't understand that. It's not in their blood. And you can have as many old timers come back, guys that went through the battles, guys that wore the black shirts come back and tell them all that is. But until you actually go out there and do it on the field and you prove it to yourself and the whole team is on the same page, it's just not going to happen like that anymore, especially with, the parity now in college football and the power shifts that have gone on since those days. It's not the same anymore. Nebraska's not in the same conference anymore. But I think Nebraska's in good shape to start climbing their way up that Big Ten ladder to where people expected them to be when they joined the conference, and not be, on the doormat every year of their division. We'll see how long these divisions last anyway. We all know everything's kind of going crazy right now.
Absolutely.
But yeah,
and they were close to that status when they joined the league.
They were close to it, but then they quickly
for the first
lost
couple
it.
of years.
Yeah, and then they quickly lost it, and they just never got it back. And and we've just seen the carousel of coaches that have gone through, and just trying to find that identity has been their biggest holdback. And it's funny that you have people running the show. I mean, your commanders are all guys that understand that and have been through it. So yeah, it's kind of shocking that it's taken this long, but I'm confident that they'll get there. Definitely.